Cześć wszystkim. All right. Hi. Hello. Next 30 minutes of your life you're going to spend with me. So give me a chance to introduce myself. My name is Julia, and I'm a business development manager at devtodev. And devtodev is an analytics system for game developers that helps to analyze, predict, and influence user behavior. So for around 5 years, I've been working very close with game developers of free-to-play games. Every day I was listening to their problems and trying to find a solution. And do you know what is the main problem or the main question that all developers have? And they just ask it in different forms. It is how to improve the monetization of the project without breaking the fun part of the game, without breaking this magic that makes players come back for more content. Yes, and today I suggest you to look at this problem from one of the approaches, right? To look at one side of this problem, and this is the optimization, the improvements of your in-game shop. If you're just creating your first game, this talk may be very inspirational for you because you will find a lot of references here. If you already have an in-game shop, no worries. It's also great because actually in-game shop is the best place in the game where you can make small changes and small experiments that can lead to really big results. So this is our agenda for today. Our hypothesis is that the revenue of the same free-to-play game can vary by tens of percent, depending on how the virtual shop is arranged. And we're going to look at 3 dimensions of this. We're going to look at experiments with visual display of the shop, how to find it, where it's located, how it looks like. We're also going to talk about the content of the in-game shop and categorization. And also we will talk about experiments with pricing and promotions. Yes, we will also touch upon the topic of live ops very briefly, and because it's very much connected with the topic of in-game shop. So let's start with the visual display. The first question you should ask yourself: how do players get into your in-game shop? In general, is it easy for them to do that? Or do they need to put some effort to find your in-game shop? And these are here mentioned the most common ways to place your in-game shop in the game. This can be a separate button on the main page, which is probably the most noticeable way to do things. Just make sure that it is very nicely integrated with your game design. The second way is to make a plus sign on the currency icon or diamond icon, whatever. And the third way is a separate button in the characters menu or garage. Of course, here I mentioned only the most common ways. There are also more creative ways to do things, but these are the most common ways to do this in free-to-play casual games. So what you should keep in mind is a user experience. Depending on the layout of the screen, whether it's landscape or portrait, it will affect the placement of your in-game shop. So it's a good idea. You can even now make a screenshot of this screen now and check where your in-game shop is located, because maybe there is a better place for it. And let's go to my favorite part, examples. Have you recognized the game, by the way? It is, yes, it's Gwent. Here the in-game shop is located to the right, and it's easy to access with the thumb of right hand. If you check the map, yes, we can easily access it. Let's look at Hearthstone. In Hearthstone also, they put it to the left of the screen at the bottom, but still very easy to reach with the thumb of your left hand. Okay, one more example that I like is the Archer game. And why it's great is because it shows us the combination of different paths to your game shop. First of all, you can see at the bottom there is a chest which enters the in-game shop. And also you can see that there are plus signs on the energy bar and on the diamond bar. And also if you press these plus buttons, you are also redirected to the in-game shop. just to different section, which is quite logical. Okay, so this is the next example. This is a Wildscapes game, and again, here you can see that the shop is located down at the bottom and to the left. And if you enter it, why I want to show you this is because here is one more strategy that developers use to navigate us in the shop, and I really like it. You see, they show us 4 packs, and one of them, the 5th one, is hidden. It's like shown on the half of it. Why it's great is because it kind of navigates us to scroll to see the whole product line that they have in the shop. If they haven't done that, they would need to add some additional elements to the interface, some tutorial or some arrows to show that you need to scroll. But in this case, just with the design, they navigate players and say, come on, you just need to scroll and more items will appear. This is the same strategy used by the Cats game by devtodev. And here it works perfectly well because it also frees up some space to the left of the screen. You see, they want to show a special promotion on the special offer to the left of the screen. So they free up the space for this, and then they just make this trick with showing half an item. All right, we found the shop. We entered it. What's next? The next is the content. How do you think? What's the optimal number of items to have in your in-game shop? What number of items do you have in your in-game shop? Of course, there is no only one correct answer to that, but there are some strategies that you can use to increase your conversion into payment. And they can be very naturally integrated in your design, and they will really improve your conversion. So, have you ever heard about the paradox of choice? If you haven't heard about it, I really recommend to Google this topic and read about experiments with gems in the supermarket, experiment with gem flavors in the supermarket. I will only briefly mention the whole idea of this. The idea is that, of course, as a game developer, you want to make your game fun, you want to provide a lot of content in your game, but surprisingly enough, this doesn't always lead to satisfaction. Actually, having too many items in your in-game shop can lead to choice paralysis, which means your players will be confused. They will look at a lot of items and they will just choose nothing. And actually, in our consultancy department, we had a very interesting case regarding this. I'll briefly mention it. We had a developer who came to us and said, guys, I have quite low conversion into payment, and I really don't know what is going on. I really don't know what's the reason. And we looked at his in-game shop, and there was like 120 items which were available to players from the very beginning of the game. Yes, this is quite a lot of items for the first user session. So of course, our first recommendation was to reduce this number, and in the end, it improved the conversion. We also made some categorizations. So. Yeah, in the end, it was a really drastic change of the conversion into payment. So the question is, what's the optimal number to have in your in-game shop? Unfortunately, I cannot give you the clear number. I would say that in many casual games, you have 5-6 items. But of course, sometimes it's not enough. If you want to make your game real fun, you need a lot of content. In that case, categorization can be a good strategy because it allows you to have diversity, but still keep it very clear. For example, in Hearthstone, you can see that they organize their cards very neatly, very nicely in card collections. In Brawl Stars, you can see that they also have different sections of the in-game shop. They have daily deals, they have skins, they have resources. And inside resources, you have also more categories. You have boxes, gem packs, coins. I personally love this example because it's super clear. All right. Moving on to the next question, and this is price point. How you should define pricing, how you should present it to your players. Keep in mind that there are such terms as minimum and maximum price points. And the minimum price points exist to convert your players into paying users. This is important. Why? Because do you know what is the average conversion in general into the first payment? It's around 1-2%. And like, of course, it depends on genre, but I'm just telling you a very, very general number. It's 1-2%. But what is the conversion into the second and the third payment? It's 20-30%. So there is a big difference. It means that when people start paying for the content, they're very likely to continue doing this. And that is why you should have this minimum price point that will be very easy for players to afford, that will move them into, that will convert them, that they will become payers. And how much it should be, of course, it's up to you. Just keep in mind your target audience, who they are, their income, their geographical location, because of course, $1 in US and $1 in Vietnam are different things, right? It may be also a good idea to think of some references from real life. For example, something that you can easily buy, a cookie or a coffee in a coffee shop, yes. And I don't mean here probably like a fancy frappuccino, but maybe some cup of espresso, something like that. And also another thing that we can talk about when talking about minimum pricing point is starter pack. Starter pack is the set of items that you give players to buy in the beginning of the game. And why it's good is because it's a really good deal usually in terms of price, and because it's time limited. So in that case, it becomes a very good, this kind of converting point for you. The only probably thing that I would mention with starter pack and with offers in general is that try to target them to different audiences. Don't forget about that, because you have minnows, you have dolphins, you have whales, you have this kind of different audiences in your game. So try to adapt your offer for them, because if you offer a standard offer to whales, you're gonna lose money because you can earn more with whales. And speaking about whales, your maximum price point exists to please whales. Yes, because these are usually players that can afford to pay like thousands of dollars in your game. And like it's not a problem for them. So you should provide them with the opportunity to do so. I've noticed that in many casual games, this maximum pricing point is around 100 euro. But of course, only experiments can decide what's best for your game. It will depend on genre, it will depend on your particular project. So let's move on. How to rank price points. Probably if you rank it from bigger to smaller, you're going to lose audiences because they will enter the shop, they will get shocked, they will faint, and they will never return. However, if you put from smaller to bigger, there is a risk that players will look only at the first part of the store and they will not scroll to the rest of the store. How to avoid this? For example, in this example, in Homescapes, they do like this. They put all offer on one screen because they have, you see, very small in-game shop with just 6 offers here. So it makes sense to put all your offers on the same screen. And what I like is that they put labels to highlight their bestseller item and best price, like best deal, because these are quite expensive items, as you see. And, you know, you need to draw attention of players to such things to make it more noticeable. And speaking of this kind of labels, we will also talk upon this in a little bit further. We'll talk about it in live ops section, yes. But first of all, what do I mean by live ops? Because there is like a lot of buzz around the term and a lot of confusion as well. The crucial idea behind live ops is that instead of treating your product as a finished product, you treat your project as an ongoing process. It's like a service which offers your players constantly with new and new content. Yes. And that is why it's like live ops is a set of activities that are performed in the game after its global launch. So this can be some A/B testings with via remote config, or this can be push notifications, in-game messages. This can be, of course, promotions in the in-game shop. And what is important here is that you don't have to release a new version for this. This is also a feature of live ops, is that they can be run in the same game version just by adding very, very small changes, for example, via remote config. So speaking about promotions in live ops, actually they're very similar to promotions in real life, in real stores. There you will find such strategies as putting labels like bestseller, like most popular, or the best deal. And when you are using this bestseller, of course, it doesn't mean that this is a really bestseller. This is just your strategy that you want to test to see that maybe you can convert players to pay more, to so that they buy not a pack for $1, but they buy maybe a pack for $5. Another strategy here to mention is to place a special offer outside of the shop interface. Because sometimes players do not return to your shop. They can buy a lot of content for weeks to come and they will not see it again. So it's important to show them the promotion outside of the shop so that they are notified about your new promotion. And here are some examples. You can see in the archer, they place a special offer on the top of the screen, very visible. And they also explain the value of this deal, that it's 4 times more valuable than buying this item separately. Also, in Brawl Stars, the same strategy. They show special deal for $11 on the most visible place in the in-game shop. And if you compare this to a gem pack of 170 gems, you can see that this offer is a really, really good deal. So you're probably going to buy it. This is June's Journey example. And it's great from a marketing perspective because it has a lot of things. It has like time limit. It has discount label. Also, if you close it, they actually ask you one more time, are you sure that you want to close it? But maybe it's a little bit too much. Like it depends. You need to test. Maybe it works, maybe not. And then what is interesting, they also place this offer outside of the game shop. You can see that on the map where you play, you also have this notification about a special promotion and the time that is left. Okay, the next question is when to show a special offer. Here it's quite simple, just do it when your audience is active. This can be some certain days of the week, for example, weekend or Friday. Try to find your patterns. Of course, for every project, it will be different. And remember that users are most active during their first days since install. That is why starter packs with limited amount of time availability, they can work really good in here. Also, I want to tell you that if you're interested in the topic in general of the promotions, you can Google this book, How to Analyze Promotional Activities, and there you will find a bit more information on how to analyze promotional activities correctly, because there are many, many mistakes you can do when evaluating your promotional activities in games. All right. The last thing we're going to talk about are ads, because ads monetization is really a thing now, and most of the games use the mixed type of monetization. They use in-app purchases, and they also use ads. So there are very simple things that you should follow. You should try, if you have tools for that, you shouldn't show ads for paying audiences. Or if you have also possibility to define who is paying audience in one app of yours, probably it's a good idea to switch off ads for them in another app that you have, yes, because they're potentially paying users. So it makes sense probably just to push them to pay, but not to show them ads. But again, it depends on your strategy. And this is example that we've already mentioned. This is Cats game. And what I like here is that here developers ask us not just to pay money to remove ads, they ask to buy any gem pack, right? And this is really good because they kind of teach you to purchase items. They make it a habit. So once you try to buy a gem pack, maybe you'll buy it next time as well. And another option also to create a separate item in your in-game shop, which can be purchased not with money, not with in-game currency, but by watching an ad. Yes. And why I like this example is because it's kind of very diverse. It covers all your groups of players. It covers non-paying players, right? Because they can watch an ad and get coins. It covers your minnows, who may pay like €1 for this pack of gems. And it also gives the possibility for your whales to spend like €100 for a card of gems. That is why I think it's a good example. So summing up what we've mentioned today, we've looked at 3 dimensions of improving your in-game shop. We talk about visual display, how players can find it and necessary items in it. We talked about categorization and how it can improve your conversion into payment. And we've also talked about pricing, experiments with pricing and promotions, which is really, really a thing nowadays. So I hope that it was inspirational, that it was useful. And yes, thank you for your time. Yes, I will look if we have any questions. Just a second. What would you do differently in case of an in-game shop in a premium game? All right. In general, yes, that's an interesting question because a premium game is a game where you pay in the beginning, right? So it doesn't make sense to be annoying. So never be annoying to your player who already paid you in the beginning. It should be a shop that should be diverse, that should be interesting, that should bring value to players. But probably using some strategies like anchoring, like baits, this kind of things with pricing, it's not the best thing. You should kind of respect more those players that are, no, it sounds really bad, but yeah, it's just, you shouldn't be annoying to these players. Don't be pushy. Should the shop be at the afterthought, or should it be right from the beginning? Well, if you're developing a game, and you should think about your monetization from the very, very beginning. So you should plan your in-game shop. It can be very simple in the beginning, of course, but you should understand what you're going to sell, because, again, your monetization, if it's a free-to-play game, it starts from scratch. Like when you start developing a game, you should think about monetization. It's very important. I have read that also first purchase must provide highest value for the players, and later you can reduce this value. Well, Yes, it can work. It's kind of logical strategy, isn't it? It sounds really logical, and that is why all these starter packs things, usually these are the best deal. Like if you compare to buying this object separately, this is a really good deal. Yes, because as I mentioned, that minimum pricing point, you needed to convert players, and that is why it needs to be a good deal. But again, there is no one correct answer for everything. Only A/B testing can help you to make a really correct thing in your game. So I think we are run out of time, right? Guys, if you have more questions, because there are some more questions that I see, you can add me on Telegram or on LinkedIn or wherever and ask questions. I'm always happy to answer.